Hello, ladies. Let's talk about the male sex drive. There are a few things I want to impart, some words of wisdom I would like to impart to women of all ages everywhere. I want to make sure they understand the primordial nature, like the root of the male sex drive, where it comes from, the psychology behind it, and the utter futility of the whole situation and the tragedy of it. It is very tragic. Once you understand this whole thing, it is very tragic and does tend to dishearten someone. So let's jump into this. I decided to use this movie as a starting point, as an example to get this lesson across to you guys. So the movie is called Tenderness, came out in 2009. It's a pretty good movie. It's worth at least one watch. And no, I don't want to watch that. Let's pull up some images. Videos. So these are the three main characters. You got Russell Crowe there, top left. He's the detective. He's the hero of the movie. And then you've got John Foster there, bottom left. He's the psychopath. He's a kid. He's like an 18, 19-year-old kid. And he's a total psychopath. And then bottom right there, you have Sophie Traub. Her name's Lorelei. That's the only name I remember is Laurie in the movie. And she's the messed up girl. Sweet girl, but messed up. So I'll just really quickly give you sort of a brief description, rundown, blow by blow of how this movie goes, what it's about. And then I'm going to start breaking down the lessons for you in this movie and what it tells us about male sexuality. So, this kid here on the bottom left, played by John Foster, he is, let's see if I can find a better picture of him. He is a psychopath. And in the movie, it's pretty quickly established. First of all, the movie opens with him basically in like a juvie prison. He's being released because of his age, and they think that he's reformed. But the reason why he was sent to prison is because he killed his parents. And he managed to convince them that it was, I don't know, maybe an imbalance, chemical imbalance. I forget why they thought it was okay that he killed his parents and he should be released at like age 19. But it's also pretty quickly established in the movie that he's also a killer of girls. That he had already killed at least one girl. And that this girl, Laurie, the blonde, she saw him kill that girl. Or at least she saw him in the aftermath. So she stumbled upon him one day out in the middle of the woods and saw him next to the dead body of this girl he'd just killed, his girlfriend. And he was being very tender. That's where we get the title Tenderness from. Russell Crowe, his character, talks about it when he's describing it to other cops in the movie. He says, he loves the tenderness of the closeness of that moment, being near them and watching them, feeling them give that last gasp of air, of life, watching the life leave them. And so she stumbled upon him out in the woods, sort of worshiping, cherishing, nurturing almost, being lovingly worshiping the dead body of this girl he had just murdered next to a river. And he didn't know that she'd seen him. He didn't know that this girl, Laurie, the blonde, had witnessed this. He ran into her a bit later when he was like leaving the woods. I think they crossed paths going over a footbridge, but he didn't think to himself that she had seen him in that capacity. So they just kind of passed each other by. And because this poor girl here is so messed up, unfortunately, like she's a sweetheart, but it's also established in the movie pretty early on that she had been sexually assaulted by her stepfather repeatedly, is the idea given. So she's very messed up, and she doesn't feel like, and her mother, you're given the impression she has a mostly good mom, but the mom doesn't know what's going on, isn't paying attention. And so this girl feels very unseen, unheard, violated, unloved. Her father figure, her stepdad, has been abusing her. So when she sees this psycho kid, very tenderly kissing a dead body, she almost wants him to look at her that way and love her that way, even though it's a dead body. And I think that it was quite, I don't think it was ever completely made clear in the movie if she was aware that the girl was dead at the time. I mean, it becomes clear later because the girl goes missing, and we find out later also that he kills his parents because his mother realized that he had killed the girl. That he was basically a psycho serial killer, and she confronted him, and so he killed her and killed his dad. And that was what landed him in prison. They had not pinned the death of the young girl on him. So I really do suggest you watch this movie. It's worth watching at least once. But yeah, again, for whatever reason, I guess he probably did a big song and dance saying, like, I was being abused by my parents, blah, blah, blah. And that's what got him out. But really, he killed his parents to cover up the fact that he had been killing girls. And his parents found out about it. And this girl, because she saw him so tenderly loving the dead body of his girlfriend, kissing her so tenderly and sweetly, and she felt like in that moment he actually loved this girl. He loved her dead body. She wanted to be loved that way. And so what happens is when he's released from prison, he decides to go on like a road trip, and he tells his aunt, who he's staying with at the time now, that he's going to go look at colleges. And she decides to like run away and basically kind of just hides out in the back of his car and makes herself known to him when he's on the road. And he kind of has no choice except to let her tag along. And at first you can tell, it seems like you can tell he's thinking about killing her. But so one of the things and this guy, he knows. So Russell Crowe's character, basically, he's the hero. As soon as this kid is released from prison, Russell Crowe is just keeping an eye on him. You can see right here in the picture, even the poster, the movie poster, he's got eyes on him. All right. And he has eyes for girls he wants to kill. And she's got eyes on him. So they're both looking at him. And he doesn't really like her. We're going to get into that in a minute. But all he wants to do is just kill chicks, right? She wants to be someone he loves enough to kill. That's how messed up she is, unfortunately. That's how desperate she is for love and to be seen. And eventually she realizes, like, he's a killer and he wants to just kill girls. Like, for him to be attracted to a girl means he's gonna kill her. So she's to the point where she's like, I don't care. I just want him to love me. Kill me if you have to. It's kind of, it's just like, oh, you poor thing. And this guy's like, I gotta keep an eye on him because he's going to kill someone again. And when he does, or when he makes the attempt, I am going to so fucking arrest his ass and get him thrown back in prison for the rest of his life. Because it's the biggest mistake that, the prison system ever made to let this kid go. So his whole thing throughout pretty much the whole movie is he's basically just chasing after this kid, keeping an eye on him, and waiting for the right moment to arrest him. So, and there's another thing. So let's tackle what he is attracted to. So again, let's make it clear. He's not attracted to her. She's a bit needy. She's a bit unsure of herself. She's contemplative and unsure of herself. And you can kind of feel it. She's a bit needy for affection and love. And it's like that disgusts him. You can see it on him. You see it in many scenes. He doesn't like that. He thinks it's gross. In fact, he even kind of says that to her. Like, why do you, like, he doesn't like her being weak. He doesn't like her weakness or her vulnerability. What he's attracted to is, let's see if we can find her. There's another girl in this movie that he's actually on his way to try and see. So when he says he's going on a road trip to look at colleges, what he's actually doing is going to try and meet this girl that he met while he was there. Here she is in like juvie, being in prison. So he sees her from across like a mess hall room, and she's more kind of full of life and sure of herself, and more just like flirty, giving off more of an attitude of like, I'm in control of me, I'm in control of this situation, men flock to me, I'm, just giving it more of a centered vibe. And that's what he likes. And here's the rub, is that's also at the same time what he wants to extinguish. He's attracted to it sexually, but he also wants to kill it. Now, you guys can say all you want, well, that's just because he's a psychopath, and they're the few and far between. Guys, he is simply manifesting, he's just manifesting what's in every man. He's manifesting it more because he's a psychopath. So the sex drive of every guy is coming from really everybody. It comes from our reptile minds, our survival minds. Our reptile survival minds are concerned with one thing really, above all else, and that's control and power. Because it's easier to ensure your own survival if you are in control of everything around you. If you have power over everything. So the survival mind, the reptile mind that everyone has, we need it to some degree. We all have it. But the reptile mind is concerned with controlling its resources, so it's food, water, anything it might need to live. It's concerned with controlling its territory, all territories really, as much territory as it can gain. It wants to control its mates. It wants to control its competition. So domination, power, control. This is one of the ultimate obsessions of the survival mind, the reptile mind that we all have. And the only difference between a psychopath and, one of the few differences between a psychopath and a guy who isn't a psychopath is the psychopath is operating more from that reptile survival mind. So therefore it's manifesting more, that need to dominate. And it wants what it typically wants, what it will look for in partners, in mates, breeding mates, is it wants young, it wants youth, it wants easy to control, which youth lends itself to that. But also they typically want something that's clean, healthy. And so that, again, the younger you go, the less likely that your mate has been infected with some kind of illness or STD. So again, this drives the reptile mind, the survival mind, to look for very, very young mates because they are clean, they are fresh, they are healthy, and they are controllable. They are more able to be controlled and overpowered by you. But what comes along with that youth is typically a lot of vivaciousness, a lot of they're less, the younger a person is, the less mindful they are of things, the less conscientious they tend to be. They're just like, I'm here, I'm here, I'm amazing. And just living life and just, again, that's what he's attracted to, but he also wants to overpower. He almost wants to kill it. Not almost, he does. In a psychopathic serial killer and serial rapist, that is what they want. That's what they're attracted to most. They actually are more attracted to the empowered girls than they are to the girls or the older women who are more conscientious, even the girls who are more conscientious, who are more in their heads, who are less sure of themselves. The psychopaths are not as attracted to them. They go for them because they might be easier to manipulate. It can be easier in many ways to manipulate someone who isn't sure of themselves, who doesn't have good self-esteem. So the lazy psychopaths will go for them, but what they really want are the supermodels, the glam models who are like, I'm worth it. I am better than you. I don't need you. I don't need anything. I'm good. I love myself and I love the world and so on. You know what I'm talking about? I think you do. All right. They really want her and they want to overpower her and they want to subdue her. And a part of them wants to kill her. In the deepest cockles, recesses of their reptile survival minds, they want to kill that girl. Kill her with their dicks. And that's the tragedy of it, guys. If you think about it, the same thing that attracts them to women the most is the same thing, is what they want to kill and destroy. And once they've done that, if he had gotten with this girl, he would have either actually physically killed her, or what happens more often in reality is they beat them down. They overpower their will. They wear them down. They sort of kill the life in them. They might still be technically alive, but that spark of what made them vivacious has died, or been dimmed at least, and then they're not interested anymore. And then they're off to look for the next spark, the next girl with the spark. So that's why he wasn't this crazy guy. This guy who's a psychopath, he's operating more from reptile survival mind instead of higher mind. That's why he sees this girl and he wants her. But this other girl, she's all flirty with him. She's making it clear, I like you. And she was even kind of letting him know, that she would be willing to keep his secret about him being a killer. But he didn't want her. And some could argue that she's even prettier than the other girl. But he didn't want her because she was, didn't have as much of that spark in her. It had been dimmed. That light had been dulled by her stepfather, who had abused her been abusing her. So, and again, let me reiterate, ladies, for those of you out there who are thinking to yourselves, that's not my husband, that's not my son, that's not my dad, that's not any of the men in my family. Yes, it is. It's just to what degree is it? Again, we all have the reptile mind. And men in our society, in our species, they are more prone to operate from the reptile mind than from the higher mind. They're just conditioned to operate more from the reptile mind, to be more competitive, more aggressive, so on and so forth. So they are more likely to be operating from reptile mind, from survival mind, to be operating from that monster, to let that monster have its way. And again, let me remind you, that is like the root of our sex drive. That's the root chakra if you study chakras. Yeah. So I'm not saying that people can't be sexually attracted to other things, to, like a woman who's born their children and, so on and so forth. But that's operating from higher mind. That's I can't think of the words I want to use. That's someone who's a bit more has their sexual attraction is a bit more sophisticated and a bit more tied in with higher mind. But if you dig deep, if you sit down and dig deep into, like, where does the sex drive come from? What is it ultimately that I'm sexually attracted to, or that men are sexually attracted to? For women, it's a different thing. We tend to operate more from higher mind when it comes to sexual attraction. We like love. We like romance. If you want to get us turned on and going, you got to romance us. You got to make us think that you love us. So on and so forth. But men, for them, it's way more based in the lower mind, in the survival mind, in the reptile mind. And again, it's very much, I want to overpower you. I want to own you. I want that spark of light in you. I want to make it mine. And in the process, they kill it, one way or the other. And once they've done that, they don't want the poor girl anymore. Like, they want to move on to another girl. And this is just... And it really depends on how healthy your male is. To see, it depends, whether or not they, what are the words? Men are just operating at different levels of this. So some men have some sexual attraction that's a bit more sophisticated, coming from higher mind, but they all are going to have a healthy amount of it coming from lower mind, coming from survival mind. And it's just like, the less of a psycho they are, the more healthy their sexual attractions will be, but they still will have a lot of it coming from lower mind. But then, of course, 1%, guys, 1% of the human population is made up of male psychopaths. And that's just the psychopaths. It's not even, I think it's like 3% are sociopaths, male sociopaths. That's 4% of the population right there. Are serious, a cluster B personality disordered person that operates almost primarily in survival mind, and so therefore their sex drive is manifesting almost entirely from survival mind. There's very little higher mind to it. There's very little notion of love. So anyway, there was more I wanted to say, but now I'm starting to forget. But in the end, this girl realizes that that it will never, he will never see her the way she wants him to see her. Not while she's alive, at least. Nothing is going to. He's never going to get better. He's not savable, and there's nothing for her to do except go back to her house where she's being abused by her stepfather. Like, she was, I guess, probably in her young teenage mind, she was hoping that she was just going to run away with this boy and they were going to live happily ever after, hoping something along those lines. And she just realized throughout the course of the movie, like, he's sick. He's never going to love me the way he loves those other girls. And even if he did, he would murder me. And then what happens is she insists, as he's taking her back home, she insists that he needs to take her out on this rowboat. And she just stands up in the rowboat and starts screaming and dancing and just, like, kind of going crazy. She just starts yelling, nothing changes, and sort of, like, lets all of her reservations fly away from her, and she just starts kind of dancing all over the place like she doesn't give a shit anymore, and then falls off, I think on purpose, falls out of the rowboat. And I'm not sure, I think it might have already been established in the movie that she couldn't swim. I don't recall. But yeah, she drowned. And the impression you get is that she let herself drown. And that was when he actually gave a shit. Like, that's when he actually loved her. When he fished her dead body out of the water. Then suddenly he loved her. He wanted that. It's like she took it from him. He was not able to have that last moment of life with her. By the time he found her, she was dead. Yeah. So that's the tragedy. This movie, I think, pretty perfectly, and a lot of other movies too, demonstrate the tragedy of the male sex drive. That deep down, the most bare, basic, primordial roots of the male sex drive are, you have that lively spark and I want it, and I want to control it, and I want to kill it. And once it's gone, I don't want you anymore. So, yeah, ladies, good luck with that. I've been trying to grapple with it too. It's not fun or easy, but the truth is the truth is the truth. You know, things just are the way they are, and nothing changes. You could try to change it all you want. I've tried. I don't think I've had much success. At least it doesn't seem to me thus far. I've not seen any signs that anything changes. It's been this way since the beginning of mankind, perhaps even since the dawn of time. And all signs thus far point to it's going to stay this way. So, and also, something else I wanted to point out is it's kind of also, this aligns itself with the Madonna horror dichotomy thing. I always forget what to attribute what to when it comes to Jung and Freud, because they worked closely together, and but one of those two famous psychologists, Jung or Freud, I think this one was Freud, talked about the Madonna whore complex, where men have a problem with being attracted to, like, they can only be attracted to the whore, but they're not attracted to the Madonna, the mother, you know. A woman is only one of two things in a man's eyes. She's the whore, she's sexy Jessica Rabbit, or she's like mom figure. She's the mother of my children. She reminds me of my mother. In which case there's no sexual attraction for him there. You know, for whatever reason, it's sad but true, but it's as if men can't be sexually attracted to a woman who is more mature and motherly, and for a lot of mothers, like, they might have a bit of the spark left in them, but let's face it, kids tend to drain all kinds of shit out of you, including sparks. So, and yeah, so it's like this unfortunately is the case with a lot of men. A lot of men. It's once they've been married to a woman, put some babies in her, seen her grandma underwear and stuff instead of just the sexy lingerie, then suddenly she's Madonna. She's the Madonna. She's the mom. And like the sexual attraction just goes right out the window. Suddenly she becomes like, this girl. And there's no sexual attraction, and they just, are like, I'll pay the bills, you raise the kids and cook the food, and I'll go sleep on the couch and watch pornography and go behind your back and sleep with the girls that attract me, which are the whores. It's like they can't, it's like men find it difficult, if not damn near impossible, to combine these two things in a woman. Like, a woman cannot be both things to a man. We can't be the mother and the whore at the same, we can't be like sexy Jessica Rabbit, but also like Betty Crocker and Jemima mommy person. They just can't seem to mesh those things together in a woman. And we are, though. We are both. Speaking as a woman, but it's hard for them to see us in both lights. So yeah. Anyway, they are attracted to the whore, and then once they've married the whore, quote unquote the whore, Jessica Rabbit type, the sexy version of us, and once they marry her, it's like suddenly all the attraction goes out the window. Suddenly now you're mommy wife person, and no sexy with you, and now I'm going to go behind your back and do sexy with someone else, which I suspect could have been the case with Ze Frank doing the flirty fishing with me, even though he's married. It's so, again, and if that is the case, it's just more disrespect. It's just like, oh, so you want me to be a side piece whore? You don't think I deserve the respect of being wife? You just want to waste my time while you stay married to your wife and, like, use me for an affair or something. Like, ladies, that's one of the things that I absolutely cannot suggest to you more, what's the word? Stringently, more. I can't be more blatant about this. It's like, don't sleep with a married man. Don't do it. Don't do it. He doesn't respect you. You are the whore. You understand? You're his side piece whore. He does not respect you. And you're just lowering yourself, it's just a shitty thing to do. I've never, as far as I know, I've never slept with a married man, although men be good at keeping secrets. Men have whole other families, like the next town over, like, so, but as far as I know, I've never slept with a married man, and I never will. So, all right. Yeah, let's just leave it there. So, Tenderness, definitely check it out. It's a good movie to watch at least once. Men's sex drives come from the reptile survival mind. It wants the spark in you, the vivaciousness, the young girl who's full of light and life, and it wants to extinguish that. Whether they're conscious of it or not, that's ultimately what they want. They want to subdue it, extinguish it, control it. And then eventually they will want to replace you. Once it's gone, they will seek to replace you. If they can't juggle you with somebody else, they might consider like a sister wife situation. Like if they can afford multiple wives, they might keep you around then in that capacity, but they will not look at you the same as they're looking at the new wifeys, right? And then when wifey number 2, her spark's starting to fade, he'll go looking for wifey number 3. So again, it's just, I feel like a big part of the lesson men need to learn here is how to love and find sexual attraction, like from the higher mind. Generate sexual attraction from higher mind. Like to look at a woman who's vulnerable, which is, again, I've said in past videos, like one of the bigger things that separates us from other baser animals is our females are capable of being more vulnerable. Like that's why we're not 2 or 3 times the size of our male counterparts, like a praying mantis. In a lot of other species, the females are not, they can't be vulnerable for the male, or the species will not survive. Right? Because the males don't do anything. The males don't contribute. They contribute next to nothing. So the females have to do everything. So they cannot be vulnerable. So that's why they're built 2 to 3 times the size of their male counterparts. So it's like one of the greatest things about our species is the females are capable of being really vulnerable, or we are if the males do their job and they contribute. But then when you have men turn around and going like, I think that's disgusting, I don't want you to be vulnerable and weak, and it's like, then you don't want humanity to be humanity, like you don't like the human race. And it tells me something. What it tells me is this, what you're dealing with then is like a Norman Bates situation. You're dealing with a guy who was likely already made to be the hero for his mommy. His mother was probably a perpetual victim. There's a difference between being vulnerable and open and having some weakness and just constantly being a perpetual victim and making your child, your son, responsible for being your hero and constantly coming to your rescue. I have seen that. I have dated that. I have dated that guy who was his mother's little hero, and that is not healthy. And I can tell you, it made him resentful of other women. It made him resentful of me having any kind of weakness or vulnerability, because it's like he's already tapped out, he's already been sucked dry by his mommy for all the emotional support, and he's already had to be her white knight in shining armor hero. He doesn't have anything left for me, and so he just becomes resentful of his partners, of women in general, because so that's what that tells me, is when a man it finds it disgusting that a woman has some weakness and vulnerability, and that quite often is a pattern we see in psychopaths and sociopaths. They're disgusted by weakness and vulnerability, and that's one of the things that makes them disgusted by women, but they're also, again, sexually attracted to these women, so they lure them in, they assault them, and quite often kill them. So yeah. All right. I'm going to stop rambling. I have to get back to work, but I wanted to take a break, and all day I've been trying to find time to make this video touching upon this topic. I might try to make a better version of it, but I just wanted to put one out today, at least this version of it, a basic, the basic ideas out there. Hope maybe I can refine it a bit and make a better version later. But right now I need to get back to work. So think on it. I hope you will think on what I'm telling you guys. Male sexuality and relationships with men is ultimately, it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy, guys. Sorry to burst your bubble, ladies, but you're not going to help. You're not helping yourselves or anybody else by living in fairy tale land about this. All right. Good night.